Welcome to Saints Happy Hour podcast. We never skip a drink day.
Budrich wants to know how the doctor's doing.
That ended.
Now grab a drink and enjoy the show.
All right, everybody, welcome to another edition of the Saints Happy Hour podcast. As always, we are brought to you by Hard Hide, Ponchatoula Strawberry Whiskey. All right, so the Saints had, or we were fearing that they were going to have an injury apocalypse. Nick Underhill is tweeting out that this is going to be a horrible injury report. It's going to break hearts. And we got the injury report Wednesday. We got the injury report from Thursday. So I was like, I got to have Dr. Thomas on. This might be the worst injury apocalypse we've ever seen. So Dr. Thomas, thanks for joining us. I always tell you, I love you, brother, but when we have you on, it's usually not good.
Yeah, you're not the first person in my life to have a love-hate relationship with me, so I understand. Don't worry about it.
So let's start with the big one. Erik McCoy hurt his groin, out 6 to 8 weeks, had the sports surgery in Birmingham, Alabama, the dreaded sports hernia surgery, 6 to 8 weeks. What does that entail, and what would possibly make it? Is there a way that it could be shorter, and what's the downside of it? Is there something that could go wrong in the rehab where it's not 6 to 8 weeks, it's longer, he's out for the year? Explain that. What's that process going to be like?
It's a pain in the butt because it's a pure soft tissue injury in an area that undergoes a lot of tension and strain. And if he had surgery, that means he had a tear where all that tissue is attaching to the bone there. And there's not much you can do to shorten that recovery. Mm-hmm. Like when there's certain, like a high ankle sprain, sometimes you can go put some fasteners in there to fixate it and support it, and you can go play on it while it's healing. You can't really do that with this. It's just the mechanics of it don't work. So he's just going to have to sit out until he's basically pain-free after surgery, and he can meet the criteria for moving around and impact drills and all that. So it's definitely kind of 6 to 8 week deal. Play it by ear at that point. But if he does come back, though, the good news is I don't think he really shouldn't be very limited with this kind of thing. And like long term, it's not like knees where you have a knee injury sustained and it can haunt you in a couple seasons from now.
Or like Michael Thomas with the ankle, right, where you said early on, you're like, I don't like this. It's weird.
Yep. Had a foreboding.
Yeah. You know what? I mean, every year, man, somebody's got to get the sports hernia surgery with the Saints. And I'm surprised that wasn't Dr. Myers in Philadelphia doing it. And I just, like, if you picked, like, who do we not want to get the sports hernia surgery? McCoy would have been like top 3 on that list. Because now if McCoy doesn't play and Cesar Ruiz doesn't play, they will have no starters from the offensive line from the season finale against Atlanta playing in this game. So that is a problem. All right. The other injury that is really interesting as well is Alvin Kamara. And here's the thing: hip pointer and sore ribs. Like, I think we all understand, like, sore ribs, it's bad for a running back. He can take shots, but what does the hip pointer mean?
It's just a fancy way of saying that you have a contusion or a bruise to your pelvis bone along the iliac crest, that part that sticks out. You get an impact on there. It feels like it could be muscular at first, but it's really a bone issue. There really shouldn't be any kind of tear and soft tissue with that injury. It's just a pain thing. Can you work through the pain? Can you get through the pain and give it time to heal? You can play on it. He's not going to injure anything. He's a super tough dude. He plays through injuries all the time, even maybe to his own detriment at times. So I think you can kind of think about it the same way as the ribs of he's going to play on it, give him some medication to help him get through the game, and he'll be fine. I don't think it's going to affect his performance a whole lot. And if it does, if it's really to that point and he needs another week, then I think they'd probably sit him out. So I'm not too down about that. I feel pretty positive about that.
Yeah, and listen, he's a dog because he is playing hurt and he's in a contract year, and a lot of guys would be like, I'm shutting it down. My contract's going to void after this year. I'm shutting it down. I'm going to try to be as healthy as I can for my last free agent contract. And he is playing. And the thing is with the Saints, like Dr. Thomas, they need him so badly, because if they don't have Ruiz, McCoy, and Kamara, I mean, you could just forget about them trying to run the ball. And you got no offensive line. So how are you gonna like you can't go to Derek Carr and be like, hey, Derek, I need you to throw the ball 50 times behind this no offensive line. Good luck with that. So they need
I think he must know that. I think that's why he's really putting his body on the line. He knows without them, they're falling off a cliff, and it's all over. And it's commendable that he's doing that.
Yeah, and listen, they need him to play. They're going to need him to play well. And the other injury, listen, he was a full practice. So he went full. So Derek Carr, but the left, he said they said his left groin. Is there an issue? Like if you tweak a groin, and of course, Derek Carr, look, say what you want about Derek Carr. And I've said this a ton. Like you can say he doesn't deal well with pressure and he struggles when teams sack him a ton and hit him a ton. You can say all that's true. But I got to say, like last year, what did we do? Like 2 injury podcasts on Derek Carr. Like he's a tough son of a bitch. Like he might struggle under pressure and he might have his flaws and all that, but he is a tough son of a bitch. But for a quarterback with whatever groin injury he's got, is there potential is there a potential that he's putting at risk or could strain it further if it's tweaked against Atlanta?
Yes, there is. It's probably an adductor strain, all those muscles that help bring your leg in. And he could worsen it, but I think if they're letting him play, it probably wasn't a big deal. They probably did a little imaging. Maybe there's a little extra fluid in there. But there was nothing that showed an actual tear. So that just means the injury is like in the micro architecture of the muscle. So he could mess it up. I think it may affect like his decision making if he needs to scramble or roll out the pocket, but he can. I feel like he can play within the confines of that without really putting himself at major risk. Obviously, freak accidents can occur, but that's another one that I feel okay with if they're letting him play. I don't think it's anything to cause a lot of fear and anxiety in Who Dat Nation.
Yeah, the last one is Demario Davis, and I feel like he's the one that's to me, and you can tell me you're a doctor, so you'll know better than me. He's the one that I'm worried about kind of the most because it's tricky. It's a hamstring. And when you add in the fact that he's 35, it makes it very dicey. What is the I don't know how to phrase it. How much more of it is it a challenge to recover from a hamstring whenever badly it's hurt when you're 35 instead of 30 or 25? And how does his age play into this hamstring injury?
Okay, I'm going to get a little heady with it because it's fun for me and this is interesting. But the hamstring is really, think of it as 2 big separate muscle groups, and they actually have a different nerve running to them. So they're dual innervated, which means that if those nerves are not firing perfectly in concert, like to the 0.001 millisecond, that's what sets you up for the injury. And then when you're 36 or 40, all those nerves fire slower and they don't fire as synchronous with each other. Even just a 10-year difference can make a difference with those things. And then also that the injury with the hamstring, they have a long time. It takes a long time for them to recover because the injury is usually bad. And the reason for that is that it's usually an eccentric injury. Your quadricep on the front of your thigh is super strong. It's trying to extend your leg forward, and the hamstring is slowing down your leg from that happening. So it's contracting, it's trying to shorten as it's lengthening. And when you get an injury with that action, an eccentric injury, it's a more traumatic injury. So that's why hamstrings are a bitch. That's why they get injured all the time. And that's why they take a long time to recover. I am a little worried about him, much more so than the other ones we talked about that aren't McCoy. And those are the reasons why. It really can linger. He is older. His age is concerning with this type of injury. And he was already kind of slowing down at this stage of his career. So I am a little worried about that. But, I'll put some prayers in the air.
Well, the thing is with him is, listen, the thing that's made him awesome is he's ageless, right? And he plays through everything, and he's always helping him and Cam Jordan. The thing that I kind of hope the Saints take into perspective is like, on the offensive line, if McCoy, let's say he hadn't injured his groin as much and he didn't need the surgery, they'd be like, Eric, we got you got to play, buddy. Same with, you talked about Kamara. There's not much behind Kamara. Jamal Williams ain't doing it. Kendra Miller's already hurt. Like, they ain't got nothing. Like, they need Kamara to play desperately. They know it. Kamara knows it. So he's like out there at practice. Thing with Demario Davis is, yes, he's important. Yes, he's a Saints Hall of Famer. He might be an NFL Hall of Famer. He's a Ring of Honor guy. He's amazing. Probably the second best free agent signing in the history of the Saints.
Agreed.
But they got Pete Werner. You got Gay at linebacker. Like, I feel like they could be okay maybe at linebacker. And the thing is, if you got to give the 35-year-old linebacker a couple more weeks to get that hamstring right, because my worry is you injure that hamstring further, his whole season could be shot, and you need him in this year down the line. So I know it's Atlanta. I know we hate them, but I feel like at linebacker, they could be okay. All right. The final, I wanted to touch on with Kamara. You talked about they can give him some, we'll say, quote unquote, medicine to help him get through it.
Yeah. With
the ribs and with the hip pointer, because I know you've talked about before, you like some injuries, like pain meds, they don't help you. Like, it doesn't help you. What can they do? They can do pain meds, and I was thinking, like, could they do like those old school, like Earl Campbell, like hip pads? Could they like try to change his uniform up or give him extra padding besides that to help him? Or is that's not really like extra pads and stuff isn't really going to help him? It's just a pain tolerance issue for him.
No, for that, it might help. For both of those, you could try padding up the area. I mean, I probably would. And then for the rib pain, you probably just they do it all the time. They do an intercostal block. They just block the nerve that goes to the rib at that area. You do it on their ultrasound. You remember, oh gosh, what's that running quarterback that got, they dropped his lung trying to do one who was with Buffalo? Tyrod Taylor. Tyrod Taylor.
Oh, so Lord.
So, I mean, that shouldn't happen when you're using ultrasound. I don't know what that guy was doing. But they do rib blocks all the time for the guys that have bruised ribs, cartilage injuries there, or fractures even, so they can play on it. And that'll last you the whole game. That'll last 4 to 6 hours. And then for the hip pointer, probably just some steroids. I mean, you could give them a couple pain pills, get them through the game if it's really bad. As long as you feel sure that they're not going to, it's the type of injury that's not going to worsen, you can feel pretty comfortable doing that. And I would feel comfortable with that, a hip pointer. I'm just not that concerned that anything's going to worsen there.
Yeah, Dr. Thomas, thank you as always. Listen, maybe Nick Underhill was doing us a favor. He played it out so terrible that when he got it, we're like, well, it's not so bad. But I gotta say, I'm petrified of this game because I just worry that there comes a point in your offensive line where, like, Kubiak, he was doing a great job protecting the tackles, right? But you can't. There's no game plan you can do where you protect the tackles and you protect your backup center and you protect your guard that you had to replace. Like, it's too many holes in the dike, right? And you don't have enough fingers to plug it. So I'm really concerned with all these injuries. And you're saying McCoy, the final thing for him, that 6 to 8 weeks. That's going to be rock solid. Like, he's not coming back in like 4 or 5 weeks. Like, he's not going to probably beat that timetable. When they say 6 to 8, it's probably going to be dead in that range.
Yes. If he does come back, then there was something they didn't tell us. Like there's a piece of information we don't have. So if it's what we think it is and it's what they said it was, then yeah, absolutely. And that we had those 2 fun weeks. I just want to say, at first I was angry that it was over, but really what it is it's like it's synonymous with you're on a vacation to find yourself in Fiji, and there happens to be like a Brazilian model there doing the same thing, and you'll have a fun fling, a nice week together. When it's time to go home, don't try to hold on to it and ruin it. Just enjoy it for what it was and let go. And that's what those 2 weeks were. We had it. It was fun. Let it go. Leave it behind.
Are you saying that I was wrong to watch the Dallas Cowboy highlights on YouTube today like 3 times? Like you're saying, no. I need to put it behind me. I was like pining for the Brazilian model that I had the incredible hookup on the cruise. I need to put it behind me. That's what you're saying.
It's okay to look back fondly. Just don't try to call her, is what I'm saying.
That's right. It's just I'm just looking at pictures on my phone.
Yeah, that's fine. That's acceptable. I would be worried about you if you weren't.
I always say this, Dr. Thomas, when we wrap up. We love you here. I really hope we don't have you. The Saints have had enough injuries. We're not even to October. I can't have you. I need to go at least 10, 12 more weeks without having you on. Maybe we can have you on if the Saints are like in a playoff run and we have a couple of guys nicked up. We can talk about that. But it's too many injuries too early in the year, my guy. But we love you. Thanks for coming on and break it all down for us.
I hope you never see me again. Who dat?
Thanks, guys, for watching. Make sure to give us a like and please leave a comment for the algorithm. That really helps us get more YouTube views and makes more money. It's a great way supporting the show, and it's free. And if you liked what you saw, consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/Saints Happy Hour. I'm Ralph Malbrough. Thanks to Dr. Thomas. Until next time, the bar is closed.